The Pro Bricky exclusive YouTube channel with Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, otherwise known as Pro Bricky. We've been talking on the innate evil nature of female. That goes for men as well, but my talks are on females to educate men on the unseen challenges that men face at the hands of female behavior. Female behavior is variable, depending on monthly cycles, depending on medications, depending on what life has done and given out to these people, or what they've done and given out to life. Female nature has to be navigated. It has to be navigated with skill. It has to be navigated with foresight. It has to be navigated from a masculine frame. And it's relentless. Female nature is tireless. It will be like the weather. It will come and go with all sorts of variations and predictables. There are predictables in this, and levels in which it can demonstrate itself in daily life. Now, does this mean that women are evil? Innately, yes, and so are men. We all have this element of evil inside us that is constantly trying to deceive us and corrupt the way in which we need to live to get the best out of the life that we have. Now, I'm just going to try something. Yeah, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, share, and comment on the videos. So what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is we all are at the mercy of our lack of character. We're at the mercy of our innate evil nature, and for many of us, we don't think we have one. We don't think we have this side to us that is able to start to subtly bring things down. Now, we know from the ancient manuscripts, the sacred scriptures, which a lot of people make fun of, but I wouldn't suggest that you do. They're actually there to help people avoid evil. And decades ago, when I became a Christian, it was a conscious decision to find out a way of escaping evil. To my disappointment, there is a way out of it at death, and that's to have faith in Christ, and he'll take you into his presence. But as far as daily life goes, evil's constant, consistent, and ever at work in ruining things in people's lives. And whether you want to accept that or not is irrelevant. That's exactly what's going on, and that's exactly what's happening, because there are powers at work, conscious thinking powers, masterminds at wrecking things in the unseen world at work against us. And for the most part, people want to close their eyes and shut their ears and think that this ain't real until they're on the end of it, when it starts manifesting in someone that they're close to or in a relationship with. Now, I've seen many, many different ways in which this can manifest. And I will say this, that the innate sinful nature, evil nature that works in every single human being that is waiting to pounce and some subtle way start to wreck things. I was calling it something in the last video, I can't remember, but it was just doing the opposite of what's good. I'll have to write it down because I can't remember what I come up with, but it was quite extraordinary, the explanation for it. But it works on the idea that there is a rule that needs to be kept by the hierarchy of the tribe or the family or the person running the marriage to make sure that the people in the relationship or marriage are happy and not going to be made sad. Now, these are called standards, and these are called the things that we value and respect. But the evil nature that works inside us will, one way or another, try and undo these rules. Now, you've got all these hundreds of thousands of videos trying to teach on female nature, and it does this and it does that. I've just ground it down to one thing: our evil nature, and not having an awareness of it, going under the mercy of it, and being prey to it. Now, you can, what females will do, and again, if you're a female and you're watching this and it's making you unsettled, you might want to check. Have a little bit of a check in the mirror, and look inside yourself. Just have a little check and see what might be a little bit out of order. But be very careful, because you can actually stir this evil nature up by inquiring into it. So I just ask you to just be very, very careful with what you're dealing with, because I'm talking about things I have seen families pulled apart so brilliantly, so in such evil mastery in the spirit realm, that for about 7 years I prayed to God that he would take the evil away, and I was a minister. I'm telling you the truth. The dark side is relentless. It will crush you. It will try and destroy you. It will try and make you die. It wants you to give in on yourself, turn in on yourself, and end yourself. I know it for a fact. I've seen it with the most brilliant strategies, the most brilliant plans, pull women apart so precisely, so brilliantly, that in trying to face off with it, trying to resolve with it, trying to find answers for it, I've ended up in a mental home. Not many people realize this, but I spent a night in a mental facility because it becomes so bad, so evil, and yet under the guise of caring. Now, watch this with a fully conscious mind, trained in evil, trained in able to discern evil and expel it from people, that the evil came from my first marriage so powerfully that the love that my wife, that she had for me, and I'm sure she still loves me and stuff, my first wife and that, but the evil became so bad, even though we're separated and divorced and have been for over 20 years, that whilst these people were acting as though they loved me, they declared me as mad and needing to be put into a mental home. And I watched this with my own two eyes. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I'm a sober-minded, alert, highly trained, and an evil man. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, this can't be real. And it got worse and worse and worse. Now, get this, listeners, and please take this seriously. And if you could you please subscribe, like, share, and comment on the video? I watched these people sign me in to a mental facility, completely worn out. I was completely and totally mentally worn out trying to deal with the evil that was pulling my family apart. I'd come to a place where I had nothing left, spiritually, emotionally, physically. Spiritually may not be true, because it was the spiritual side of my life, the integrity that was surrounded in that got me through this. So they also lovingly put me in to a mental facility for the night. Now let me show you how God works. And please listen to me, man. I don't know what female nature has done to you, but I know what it has done to me, and I know how determined it can be in trying to destroy you. Now, I consciously thought, I'm going in, I'm going to let these people sign me in. I want to see how far this can go, how far this can descend. All right. Now, at this point, I was having suicidal tendencies. I was completely and utterly fragmented mentally. I tried everything I could to save my family. My wife was seeing another bloke. We would sit and have dinner with her. Listen, guys, we would sit and have dinner with her, me and the kids. We'd sit and have dinner with her, and then she'd go and put all the makeup on, and the other bloke would come and pick her up and take her out. I showed grace beyond what is regarded as humanly possible. And this went on for about 3 months, and all of a sudden, all of a sudden, a darkness, a sickness came over myself and the children. And I'm pretty sure the ex-wife, actually, that sent us so close to death's door. If it wasn't for the lady across the road who was a Christian, and I'll name her Margaret Cooper, she nursed us out of this darkness and sickness with such Christian spirit and charity that I think even the evil itself was trembling from the righteousness and the love of this woman. And this woman had a man, a husband by the name of Dallas. And I always regarded Dallas as a stealth, just a stealth warrior. You know, he just was the loveliest bloke. I'll never forget these people. And Margaret nursed us through what I would have to say was one of the darkest times in my life. So, thank God for you, Margaret Cooper, and Dallas Cooper. Thank God for you. And I remember even Heather Bassett, a highly regarded doctor and physician in our community, came to the home and asked me and Duncan Bassett, that's right. And I was so embarrassed and humiliated, and yet so humbled at thinking these people actually care. And I tell you what, my wife had been totally demonized, become totally demonized at this point. And I don't say that to try and belittle her. I say that because that's what happened. So I get submitted into the mental place through the hospital at Gosford for the night. And I'm watching this and I've gone, right, well, they've done it. They've put me away. But I had to go in voluntarily, as it were. So I'm gone in. I'm thinking, you know, I'm at my end here. I've had enough of all of this. I've seen now how dark people that say they love you can get. And you got to remember, guys, I was fully conscious. I'd been fighting evil for the last 15 or 20 years as an evangelist and as a prison person that was going to the local boys' home with ministers and, I mean, highly trained warriors in evil. And we sat with murderers and everything for years and years, speaking to them about the love of Jesus and the way in which he helps. And many lives were changed and a lot of peace was brought. So I'm sitting in the mental hospital down in, I've been admitted. And it's quite funny, really. You go in and you're with these poor, I mean, you think you've had a hard time. Oh, no. No. I get down there and, they put you in and you just sit with these other people and then they give you a little room. It's so confronting. So I'm sitting in this little cubicle, as it were, with a bed, and there's a guy on the other side of the curtain in his bed. I'm surprised it was just a curtain because these people are, including myself, I was one of them, are at the end of themselves. And this is, so Satan doesn't stop. So I'm sitting in this bed thinking, what on earth and how in hell have I ended up here? And the guy on the other side of the curtain started to natter. He started to natter things, and he was nattering everything that happened that afternoon at my place. He'd go, and it'd be the ex-missus, and then he'd go, he'd be talking, and it'd be me. And I'm thinking, Satan's actually trying to finish me off. He wants me to go. This would drive anybody mad. And that went on for about 20 minutes. He'd be saying exactly what my wife said. He'd be saying exactly what I said. And I'm sitting there going, look, Holy Spirit, if this is all real, like if you are real, there's never been a time in which I've needed you. So I'm just plodding along through this. Then you'll hear some of the mental people on the phone. And one lady was on the phone and she was broken to pieces. I mean, broken beyond comprehension, on the phone to this person going, I love you and I need you. And obviously the person on the other end of the phone has put them in, like I was put in. Don't underestimate how dark this can all go. And it was like she was just being ignored. And she finished the phone call and she got taken away, worn out with it all, completely worn out like I was. So the next day came and I got through the night. Don't ask me how. I didn't take any medication. Oh, they love to offer medication. No, nothing for me. I'm fine. Excuse me. Been very busy. I was fine. I was actually in my right mind watching all of this and thinking, right, well, these people have left me in a mental home. That's a great marriage, isn't it? That ended up really well. The next morning, I'm sitting in this courtyard contemplating and I wish I had had a journal or something and wrote all the things down that were actually going on and how bad it really had become and all that, but I didn't, so these are snippets of it. I'm sitting there, and lo and behold, the chaplain from the hospital comes down, and he just sits beside me. This guy was, I just don't know how to describe the holiness of this man, the genuineness and love of this man, Ken Shakespeare. And I'll never forget Ken Shakespeare, because he trained me in chaplaincy at the Gosford Hospital. And he comes down and he goes, well, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I've just come in because it's gotten to the point where they're saying that I'm mad. I'm not, and you know I'm not, but I wanted to see how far it would go. And he put his arm, he just touched me on the shoulder. I forget what he did. And he said, well, I think it's time you went home. And I got up and I went home. I signed out and went home. And I went home realizing that when things collapse around you, you could commit suicide, and the evil will keep those people running in the direction in which it's turned them to face. And what I realized is, even though people say that they love you, and they do, I believe that when they say it, they mean it, they do. Evil can run them in such a way in which it's contrary to anything you could possibly comprehend or believe from people that say that they love you. There is so much more to this, and it's so much darker, but I don't think it's right to go any further into how dark it became. And I mean, terribly dark. But thank God I was conscious. I was not on drugs. I wasn't with an altered mind. But the good news is now, some decades later, we all get along. Me and the ex-wife get along, and we all realize what happened and who was wrong, and we all take accountability. We all took stock. But jumping forward, once your main marriage is over, you're then in a different realm of life, and it works for some people and it doesn't. I've had many, and I say this humbly and with sensitivity, that I've had many beautiful, extraordinarily beautiful, I mean beautiful to behold and beautiful in their softness, women. But in some strange way or another, and I say this seriously, for all the love and wonderful times that we share, I'm always robbed by this innate internal and external presence of evil that comes down upon these people, and everything gets ruined. And I've learned that as soon as you spot it, it's time to walk away. It's time to let things go. Because after my experience in my first marriage, I prayed to God for 7 or 8 or maybe 9 or 10 years for the demonic powers that were pursuing me in so many different ways, particularly mentally, the tormentors and the accusers in the unseen realm that are working. Many of you feel like you're in trouble sometimes, but you haven't done anything wrong. I used to say, I feel like I'm in trouble all the time, but I just haven't done anything wrong. I don't. Why? Why do I feel like I'm in trouble? It's Satan's the accuser. Satan's the witness, the jury, the prosecutor, the executor, the accuser. And he's working at your mind constantly to bring shame, guilt, and all other destructive tendencies that come to mind to wear you down and to run your life short. I know, because I've been driven into so deeply into I remember I've stood on the top of a cliff, like most people do, that I understand what it's like when you're standing on the edge of a cliff and you hear that, somebody's jumped off a cliff. Only the fact that the Lord Jesus Christ told me to wake up and grow up Like, some people don't get that message. They actually jump. It felt right. It felt attractive. It felt perfect for me to jump. That's why people jump. There's this sense of perfection about doing it. It comes across as right. Satan and his cronies know how to put a flavour that is attractive on these things of death. But once you jump, that's it. You can't change your mind, even if you're falling and you go, oh, gee, what? It's all too late. You're going to hit the bottom. I know this because I've experienced it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking the way that I do and doing the messages that I do to try and help people. Many men and women have been completely pulled apart by the forces of evil and haven't realized how deep they can go to ruin them. They've just taken it as the other person's behavior and dysfunction, and this is how it's all ended up, and they're narcissists and this and that. You don't know what a narcissist is until you're faced with evil itself coming at you relentlessly. Evil doesn't tire. It doesn't get tired like us. You'll go to sleep with it hounding you and badgering you. And then you'll wake up and it hasn't gone anywhere. It's still going. I'll never forget praying and praying and praying. Please take this away, Lord. What? Why? That's why I say you've got to be very, very careful when it comes to facing off with your evil. That's why so many people are medicated now and they say they've got depression and all this other stuff. If they just stop and ask, what is it that I have done or am doing that can help me find my way out of this? For some people, it's a medical imbalance or some kind of medical condition that they have, and that's different. I'm talking about the majority that can find their way out if they evaluate and have introspection and self-awareness of them, examination of themselves with reality and seriousness in a way in which they want to come back to themselves. See, I always valued being straight. I always valued not tampering with my mind. And that's what saved me from the most horrible moments where evil has tried to destroy me. Well, you're listening to Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, otherwise known as Pro Bricky, on the Pro Bricky exclusive YouTube channel. If you haven't already, could you please subscribe, like, share, and comment? And I'll continue this theme in the next talk. Bye for now.